occasionally reflect back and just think how lucky I am to grow up in a country such as England instead of Russia, where I was born. A lot has happened since 2010 when I moved here. So yeah, I just don't want to forget it. And today I want to kind of appreciate it and talk a bit about it. Hi guys, welcome back. So a few months back, I was speaking to a friend of mine from back in Russia. Funnily enough, I actually used to copy her in Russian lessons in school. This was when I was maybe 9 or 10. We were talking about what we're doing in life and what we were planning to do in the near future. And I was talking about how I was doing civil engineering, but that's not exactly something I'm passionate about. Again, I was saying I'm incredibly grateful for even have an opportunity to work in civil engineering or have just a degree in stuff, but in I guess 10 years time that I can earn 60, 70k, but spend 50, 60 hours of that in work per week, which again, I just wasn't really too optimistic about. And the stuff I'm trying to do online, I could do exponentially more in the same time frame. Literally, as soon as I said this, I forget that, again, I'm in England, not Russia, so the standards are completely different. So I sent, I was like, Eric, are you okay? Back in Russia, let's say I make 70, 80,000 a year in Great British pounds. Back in Russia, 5.5, 6 million rubles per year, which is just absolutely crazy. That's a crazy amount of money. Okay, to put into perspective, let's say a doctor. So my mum, she's a doctor. She was a doctor back in Russia, she's a doctor here as well. So back in Russia, she used to earn 25,000, 30,000 rubles per month, which is equivalent to about 250, 300 pounds. Around 4,000 pounds per year, which is absolutely nuts. Considering the cost of cars, which is probably for an okay shit box really, is 500,000 rubles, and to get a decent flat in Russia, maybe a couple of million, which is just absolutely nuts. So you can't really survive that. And firstly, it's crazy to think about how little doctors actually earn in Russia. And secondly, I just forget about how far I've come to even think about that. Doing civil engineering where I'm earning 60, 70,000 a year in the next 10 years is just, I'm just not feeling optimistic about that at all. I forget to kind of step back sometimes and then remember how grateful I am just to be living here. And then these are the kind of problems I'm having, not where in Russia, where it's more literally just about survival. And even with 4,000 or 5,000 pounds a year, which is okay, cool, 250, 300,000 rubles, is it's not bad money there really. And in the problems I'm having now, I'm just incredibly grateful and lucky that I'm actually having them at the moment, instead of alternative, I would be having them back in Russia. In reality, I probably didn't crack on the streets or something like that. I was incredibly fortunate to kind of skip this generation, which fought incredibly hard just to leave Russia and in search for just a better future for themselves and the kids, which normally takes in between 5 to 10 years, probably even more. Just I know some families kind of immigrated to England, and their family is still working incredibly hard just to survive. So one thing I want to kind of just reflect back and just think about here is just how incredibly grateful I am for my mum to actually take me out of Russia and move to the UK, because it definitely wasn't easy. It was, especially for her, it was just incredibly difficult. Again, I don't want to go too much into detail because it gets a bit personal. And the immense gratitude I have for parents just taking their kids out of just bad scenarios in life and then just going somewhere else on the other side of the world for just a better future for them and their family. Some things here I'm just incredibly grateful for. Things like NHS. In Russia, just the free healthcare system is not great. And then just, for example, being able to drive here, I know that in Russia just never would have happened, maybe when I'm 30, etc. To the things such as having the luxury of time. When I came to England, I came back from school and I was oh, I have no homework, what am I doing now? Back in Russia, I normally come back from school when I was 8, 9, 10 and have about 5, 6 hours worth of homework for the next day, which is absolutely nuts. To the random, very lucky and fortunate opportunities I get as a result of living in this country, to the incredible friends I have, again, for the very same reason. Sometimes I'm very interested to see how my life would have played out if I was to stay in Russia. Even with all of this being said, it's crazy to think about how quickly hedonic adaptation actually sets in, where we adapt to our new circumstances and we see it as a norm. So as an example, let's say I was earning 30,000, I was driving some sort of Toyota Yaris, let's say, because that's just basically Toyota Yaris. And yeah, let's say in 5, 6 years time, now I'm earning 100k, I live in this crazy apartment, and I've got this Mercedes or etc. And now I think I'm oh, this is normal, oh, I want something else. What would have been enough, let's say 5 years ago, is clearly not enough now. So this baseline continues to move forward. In terms of evolution and driving society forward, this is really good. But in terms of your own mental health, yeah, this is quite shit for it. sometimes it's good to take a step back and reflect exactly how far you've come and just appreciate the journey. Okay, another point I want to talk about here is people overestimate how much they can do in a year, but underestimate how much we can do in 10. Okay, I'm going to use my mum as an example here again. It was a birthday not too long ago, so I was reflecting on how much she actually accomplished, because she tends to forget it. So it's always a good reminder just to remind her. And again, talk about this whole concept of hedonic adaptation. After about 1 year, my English wasn't too good. My mum's English was alright, but it wasn't to a level where she wanted it to be. She recently she passed some tests, which I think IELTS or might have been something else, which she needed to work here as a doctor. And she passed them, but not to a level which was required. She was very close, literally multiple times she was doing the tests. And so after 1 year, it seems like, okay, both of us are going backwards. Like, oh, okay, what are we doing here? We need to go back to Russia, blah, 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 blah. Now taking a few more steps into the future. She's now a GP in UK, which is just quite crazy considering all the qualifications she did in Russia couldn't really translate into English. So she more or less had to do them again. And now all the stress and all the initial steps back were totally worth it. And to further develop the sense of gratitude instead of entitlement, we want to keep things like a gratitude journaling, or every day when you wake up, just habitually train yourself to just think of all the things you're actually grateful for. For example, just being able to record a YouTube video, or being able to drink some water, or roof over my head, or food in my stomach. A lot of the world don't even have this kind of luxury. So just thinking how grateful you are to be in a position where you're at. Thanks so much for watching. Maybe if you want to watch another video about my quarter-life crisis I had 2 years back at university, actually a video about it right here. But if you don't, that's okay, and I'll see you again next week. Bye.